Prigozhin asks the Russian Prosecutor General's office to check the governor of St. Petersburg for corruption. Prigozhin proposed to the Prosecutor General to block YouTube in Russia. Prigozhin openly declares the incompetence of Russian generals. Prigozhin demands that the Duma deputies stop talking and go to war. These are the headlines in the media over the past few weeks. And here, for example, in another publication in the Washington Post, they write that during one of the meetings with Putin, Prigozhin directly told the president about the mistakes in the Russian-Ukrainian war, and now he publicly praised Zelenskyy. Prigozhin, who remained in the shadows for years, suddenly becomes a media personality and wants more power, experts say.
With such statements, Prigozhin is certainly trying to increase his significance, that he is not just gathering some prisoners. They are actually waging war against a smart, dangerous enemy, and therefore he needs even more powers for this. And the most important thing is resources.
Prigozhin has known Putin for a long time, since the time when he ran a restaurant business in St. Petersburg and personally served food for the president of Russia. Since then, Prigozhin has been known as Putin's cook. Putin also helped his cook to become not a poor man. He supplied him with state orders for food for the Russian Ministry of Defense and helped him become a monopoly supplier for school canteens in Moscow. Now Prigozhin is recruiting thieves, murderers and rapists for the war with Ukraine.
Those who arrive on the first day say they got somewhere in the wrong place. We make them a mark of the deserter, and they are shot. Any other questions, guys?
And according to insider information in the Russian media, Prigozhin achieved some success in his desire to become irreplaceable for Putin.
He, Prigozhin, is tightly on the president's ears. He is no longer an errand boy for not the most pleasant cases. Prigozhin is considered an effective military manager, a liberator. Source close to the Kremlin in a comment for Medusa.
According to the same sources, the position of the Russian army on the front line depends on Prigozhin's Wagner private military company. For example, in Bakhmut, Putin himself practically legalized the Wagnerites and gave Prigozhin carte blanche. If they do not violate Russian laws, they have the right to work, push their business interests anywhere in the world. These are Putin's words about Prigozhin's army. But such an exclusive position as the owner of a private army means a risk for Putin himself.
In a dictatorship, especially in a dictatorship that is on the decline, there is a brute force. If the security forces are such a state element of violence, and there are essentially two private armies, this is the army of Kadyrov and the army of Wagner PMC, all these people are the players against the backdrop of a collapsing empire. Whoever has an army is the player.
By the way, Prigozhin has complete mutual understanding with Kadyrov. Both of them are in conflict with the Russian Ministry of Defense, and they can start a race for Putin's chair.
Losing the war in Ukraine is already becoming an instrument of internal political struggle in Russia itself. The main task that we see is for the post-Putin elites to find their place in the world after Putin.
Experts have no doubt that Putin will step down from power by reason of death, coup d'etat or finding a successor, and then Prigozhin can make the next move.
The biggest threat is a story with private armies, having at hand several tens of thousands of cutthroats who can be used not to fight an external enemy, but to hold the positions that they capture or want to capture, will all explode, and seriously, both the armies of Prigozhin and Kadyrov.
And it turns out that Putin himself had a hand in this. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Angelika Brushnevskaya, UATV News.